sit comfortably. You know, take your time. Grab blankets if you want. Oh, and just be glad we're dry. So far anyway. If you see anything, leaking one towel might not be enough. So just let yourself sit comfortably, lengthen up through the top of your head. Enjoy feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Appreciate those breaths coming into your belly so you feel the belly rise. Excuse me, as you inhale. And then just start to circle a little bit with your breath here with your torso. Letting your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you back. And these circles, as you know, can be small or they can get bigger and bigger if that feels good to you. But just enjoy feeling the breath move you. And then we'll stop and we're going to reverse and go into the other direction with these circles. So take your time, let yourself just circle off in the other direction. And the next time that you come forward with your circle, let yourself stay there. Hands can come down to give you support. You're more than welcome to come as far forward as you choose. Let yourself just be easy. If you want to shift a little side to side or move around a little bit once you're forward, if that feels really good to you, do. And let yourself start to feel the breaths coming in, going out now, feeling your ribs expanding. And letting your face soften. And one more breath here. Slowly come on back up, letting our hands come out onto the floor beside us for now. Sitting up nice and tall. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse. And inhale the hands right up to the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. Good. And if you're cross-legged, let's just switch the cross of the legs. You can stretch them out in between if you need, but let your other leg come in front eventually. And we'll do the same circling with the breath here. So letting yourself feel your exhales start to bring you into those circles. And your exhales bring you forward. As you inhale, you come back. And exhale as you head forward again on the other side. So just easing into those as big as you want circles. Ready to reverse direction, you stop where you choose and just start to unwind into the other direction. And then the next time you come forward here, again, let your hands come down to give you support. It doesn't matter how far you go, you know that. You can go just a couple of inches. Maybe you want to shift a little side to side. You can walk farther out with your hands. Go side to side there if you want. So just be mindful of letting yourself release into a seated forward bend where you feel good in your back. You feel that nice easy stretch in the low back. And if you can let your head hang, do release your neck and your jaw and your face. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up. Let your hands come on out beside you again, fingertips lightly touching the ground. And let's inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, let our hands come down to be in front of our hearts. Once they're here in front of your chest, separate your hands except for the tips of your fingers and the tips of your thumbs. So you're just very lightly touching the tips of all the fingers and your thumbs together there. Let your elbows kind of widen out a little bit. Let your shoulders melt down. Just enjoy this hand reader for a couple of breaths. Enjoy that light connection. Feeling that sense of space between your hands, at the same time being connected. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and join the hands together back into your prayer hands in front of your heart. And then just unfold your arms on down beside you. Let's stretch our legs out for a second. Let yourself shake out your legs just a little bit. And then bring your left leg out to the side. If you can fold your right leg in, do. If this bothers your knee, you can leave your foot farther out. You can grab a block too if you want, and give support here for underneath the knee. So be mindful of what feels good to you, because we're going to think of coming just a little bit forward here to open up the inner left thigh. So the toes and the knee of the left foot are going to be up, and when you come forward, you're letting yourself just find that inner thigh there. So just stay for a couple of breaths to give the body time to adjust. And it doesn't take very far to feel it, that's for sure. So feel that heel of your left foot on the ground. Draw it back towards you a little bit. One more breath. And then let's walk up. We're going to take a nice inhale once we're sitting up tall. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our left. So twist towards that bent leg. Doesn't matter where your hands come. Exactly wherever feels good to you. I'm sorry, coming towards you right, towards your bent knee. So just be easy. Find that twist in the middle of the back. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center. Just keep on going all the way over towards your left. And just again, be really easy there as you lengthen up. Feel that twist in the middle of the back. One more breath. And then use your belly to draw you back around into center again. And all we're going to do is switch our legs out here. So take your time if you need to keep them both stretched out for a second. Or if you need to keep them stretched out for good, right? You don't have to bend this knee, and be really mindful. You don't want to put stress in your knee or your hip. So if the idea of a block or putting the foot a little bit further out sounds good to you. And then when you start to come forward, again, you're going to feel this inner thigh. Think of the knee and the toe facing up on that right leg. And feel the heel on the ground, just gently drawing it back towards you a little bit. So you're feeling the hamstring, you're feeling definitely the inside of the leg. And just breathe. Breathe in where you need it. Good. One more inhale. And then draw yourself slowly back up to sitting. Sitting up nice and tall. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, twisting to your left again towards that bent leg first. And you can bring your right hand wherever you want. Maybe to the knee, maybe not, right? Maybe you just want to hold on to your shin or your ankle. Doesn't matter. Just feel that twist in the middle of the back and let it feel like you're waking up your spine even more. Good. One more inhale. And as you exhale, come on back around through center and go all the way in the other direction. So again, just coming around where you can be. not forcing it, just enjoying that twist there in the middle of the back. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you back into center. And now let's bring both feet in towards, bringing ourselves into Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together. Does not matter how far out you have your feet. That's up to you. And just ease your way forward a little bit. If you want blocks underneath your legs, add the blocks here to give you support. Let yourself come forward and come forward from your low back. Releasing into the hips. One more breath. And then as we come on back up, go ahead and bring your knees out, stretch your legs out, and move around a little bit through your feet and your ankles before we head around towards our hands and knees. Now you know if you don't want to be on your knees themselves, bring a blanket underneath your knees. Or if you don't want to be up on your hands, you can put a blanket under your hands or come to fists if you want to. So be mindful there, get your knees underneath your hips, kind of wag your tail a little bit. See if you can let your head hang and look back behind you a little bit as you let your hips just shift a little bit from side to side. Let your upper body respond however it naturally wants to, right? And then come on back, look between your hands for a second, and then send your feet over to the right, look over your right shoulder like you're looking back towards your feet, and your feet actually have moved over towards the outside edge of the mat there, or even to the floor. And then come back to center and go the other way. So you let yourself look to the left, your feet are to the left, just feel a little more in your side waist there. And then we'll come back into center with everything, and we'll start to move through our cat-cows. So take your time. You know, and if your cat-cow doesn't feel that comfortable, maybe just don't go as fully and deeply into the cat to the cows, right? Or maybe you feel like I'd be better off to get out of my hands. You can always come to your forearms and move through your cat-cows that way if you want, or come down with your forearms on blocks if that feels even better. But take your time. It'll be easy. Imagine as you flow through your back that your head then becomes almost like a part of your spine, so it kind of follows what your spine is doing up into either the cat pose or into your cow pose. Good. And finish off so that you meet back in that neutral spine. And you may want to grab your blocks. We're going to step our left foot forward. We're going to leave our right knee down. And then just shift our hips forward here and come into opening up through the front of the right hip. Pressing into the top of the toes a little bit. If you need a blanket, put a blanket underneath your knee. But let it feel really good here. Open up the front of the hip. Good. And then all we're going to do is switch legs so you can shift back and bring that knee back down, so you step your right foot forward and then shift your hips forward and come into the front of the left hip here. Pressing into the top of the toes. Enjoy feeling that engagement there. Good. And we're going to switch legs again, so shift back with that knee coming down. As the left foot comes forward, this time let's go ahead and lift up the back knee and come into our full lunge. Take your time there, press the feet away from each other, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. You know, whatever height you want to be. The floor, the blocks, any height of the blocks that you want. And we're going to switch legs, so bringing that right foot forward and the left foot back, however you choose to switch. Again, press the feet gently away from each other, feel that engagement up into your hips. Zip up the belly a little bit. Good, we're going to switch again. So this time, we're going to add a little twist. We're going to move a little bit with it. So as you ground your right hand, bring your left hand to your hip. Roll that shoulder up. Then stretch your left arm up overhead as well. And now as you exhale, look at the floor and swing your left arm down in front of your leg. And when you inhale, come back into that twist if you can, with the arm reaching out. So exhale, looking down towards the ground, swinging the arm in front of your shin, and then inhaling to swing it back up. And then one more time, letting the arm come down. And as you inhale, come back into that twist in your lunge there. Reach back through the inner heel. Really feel the length out through the top of your head. And we're going to bring the hand on back down to switch legs. So bringing that right foot forward to come into lunge. So again, getting yourself really adjusted into the length of stance where you like. And then when you're ready, grounding your left hand, bringing your right hand to your hip, rolling your shoulder up, bringing that right arm all the way up if you can. Take a nice inhale. And then as you exhale, look at the floor, bring the arm down in front of your shin, and as you inhale, bring it on back up overhead. So as you exhale, letting the arm come down, looking at the floor, and inhaling, coming back into that twist. And then one more time, letting yourself come on with the arm down, and then bringing yourself back into that twist. One more breath here. And then bring your hand on back down. And let's step forward and come on into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And use whatever support you need. Walk a little bit if you can. In your Uttanasana, lifting a heel and bending the knee. Letting yourself move through. Good. And then shift back so that you can lift your toes up. So you've got your feet on the floor, you're lifting all your toes up for a second. And let yourself try to spread your toes out. And if you can't do that without using your hands, then see if you can reach your hands down and make a little space between your toes if you can. It doesn't have to be big spaces, right? Just feeling a little bit of space there, trying to spread them out. And then let your toes softly come on back down to the floor. Work your way into your Uttanasana with whatever support you need. If you need to put your elbows above your knees or your hands on your blocks, do. If you'd like to hang, arms hanging down towards the ground, or put your hands up to your elbows, that's fine. Let your face be soft. Just enjoy letting that weight of the torso forward here and help you open the backs of your legs. Does not matter how much bent your knees are. And one more nice full deep breath. And we will bring our hands to our hips and press into our feet as we rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up over the head. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts, finding your mountain pose. So if you need to look at your feet, do adjust yourself in the mountain. If you need to shift around or wiggle around, just let it feel really good to start to get yourself very evened out now, really balanced between your feet. Feel your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels so that the pelvis is aligned. And then just enjoy. Feel your head very light up there on top. Imagine how your spine looks right now with all its natural curves in it. Feeling the sense of the muscles alongside of the spine helping really to keep your spine in alignment. Good. And then just let your hands slide over towards the left side of your chest and tilt your head the other way, right here towards your right shoulder. And then we'll come back into center and just go the other way. So sliding the hands over a little bit, letting your head tilt the other way. And then we'll come on back into center. And now clasp your hands, send your palms outward from your chest. So really pressing out into the heels of the hands here now. And then starting to rise the arms higher and higher. And it depends on you and your shoulders, how high you want to go. You know that. So you can bend your elbows some if you want, and then press into the heels of the hands. Even if your hands aren't directly overhead, maybe that feels better to you to adjust a little bit, to let your elbows bend and then press again. Until you get to a place where you can go, that feels really good. I feel very equal between the sides of my body. I feel my shoulders release down away from my ears. And then think about moving over to your right a little bit with your hands and press up into the heel of that left hand. Let yourself find a little more inside stretch here. And then we'll come on back up to the top, and we're going to go the other way. So moving over to the left, pressing up into the heel of the right hand. Feel yourself really opening up through the side of the body there. And then we'll rise back up. Let's lower our arms down. Let your hands stay clasped with the back of your head. Press the back of your head into your hands so you feel that engagement in the core body. And now press down into your feet. And your knees can bend a little bit. Press into your feet and press your head into your hands. And there you are, engaged in the core of the body, but also feeling released in your shoulders. Good. And then from there, slowly just unfold your arms on down beside you. And let's inhale the arms forward and up overhead. And as you exhale, open the arms like wings as you come on into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. Lengthen out through, that's fine. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So yay for dog. Do what exactly feels good for you as you adjust into your dog. If you want to walk, if you like to bend both your knees really deeply and press back out of your hands, let your head move around if it feels good. Just be mindful and get yourself into that stance then where you feel like you can stay still, but you're feeling very good in your whole body in your down dog. And then let your next inhale bring you on out to your plank. Nice and strong plank, reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels. And we're going to lower down, knees first if you need, elbows right by the ribs. And let's slide onto our forearms and come into Sphinx pose, elbows under the shoulders, or as close as feels good for you for that. So your elbows can be down more towards your waist, just getting a little bit of an uplift here in the body. One more breath here. And then we'll come on back down, slide our hands back by our chest. Now come up into a little cobra, where you're not really using your hands. You're not pushing into them at all. You're just letting them rest on the floor. Feel your elbows hugging a little towards each other. And then if you feel good to keep going up into a higher cobra, you can stay right here. Or you can press into your hands and rise up higher, elbows hugging in towards the ribs if you choose. One more breath wherever you are here in your cobra. And then we're going to lower all the way back down, and we're going to make our way back to down dog. So you can come through a half or a full push-up. Reaching back into your dog, walk if you want. Again, if you need to wiggle around a little bit or move around with your hips or walk a little bit, do. When you find your way back to dog, hug those elbows towards each other. Really feel your shoulders, this sense of great relief in your shoulders when you hug your elbows towards each other. And we will bring our right foot forward from here to find lunge. So however you need to get it there, you know that. You can put your left knee down or both knees down if you need. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Let yourself be mindful of using whatever support you need to be comfortable. If any of you want to cross your hands at the wrists and kind of hold over the tops of your feet to the outside of your feet, sometimes that feels really good. It's different than holding your elbows, right? Every little different way that you change a pose will change the feeling of it. So obviously, you need support. You need to put your elbows above your knees. Do it. Easy breaths, full and deep and long if you can. Follow the breaths all the way in and all the way out. Good. One more nice full breath. And now bend your knees, and now as you head up, do cross your arms. And imagine that you're gonna, this sounds weird, take your shirt off. So as you come up, it's like your arms go beside you, and it's like you're reaching up and over, like you were taking your shirt off. And then let yourself end up in a nice wide V with open arms up top here in your mountain pose. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Let it feel really good. So one more breath here. And then as you exhale, lower your arms on down and let your hands clasp behind you. Take a nice inhale. And then as you exhale, bend your knees and come forward, stay parallel to the floor, and flat a back as you can find. So you're reaching back with your tailbone, right? You're not letting it tuck up under you, you're reaching it back, so your back flattens except for all those little natural curves, right? And then if you want to keep folding over, go for it. If you're able to bring your arms off your back, you can do that, not necessary. Totally up to you and your shoulders. Now think about your feet in the floor here now. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside or the insides of your feet. So feel the four corners. If it helps to lift your toes up, you can do that. One more breath. And then we'll release our arms on down. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. And we'll step our left foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. And back into that down dog. Spread those fingers wide. Let yourself feel the whole body here in your down dog. And your next inhale, come on out to your plank. See if you can walk your plank a little bit. When you bend the knee, go to the top of the foot and press down into the top of your toes. And then come back with that leg long and switch and go to the other side. So you're actually going over the tips of the toes to the top of the feet to press down a little bit. Finish off the one you're on. We're going to lower down. Knees first if you need, elbows right by the ribs. And let's, from here, come back into that little cobra, but float your hands up. So don't even let your hands be on the floor. Just use your body to lift yourself up. Use your back body there. And then come back down, hands back down to the floor, bend your knees here, and let your feet flex and circle them around. They can either circle the same direction or they can go opposite directions. That's really up to you. Now while you're doing this, turn your head to one side. Let yourself turn, doesn't matter which way, because we're going to go the other. But those feet are still doing some sort of foot dance back there. We probably have not a clue what they're doing. And then come on up and turn your head the other way. Let your feet keep moving around back there. Feel your ankles. Might even want to kind of play with your toes, trying to wiggle your toes a little bit. Oh, good. And then come on back to center with your head. Bring your legs back down long. And let's come on into Cobra again. And you can stay low or you can press all the way up. That's up to you, how high you come into your Cobra. And we are going to shift back to child's pose from here. So let yourself shift your hips back. Come on into child's pose with your arms overhead. See if you can come up onto your fingertips. Hug your elbows a little bit in towards each other and feel that release there between the shoulder blades on your back. And then come up enough and let's bring our left arm through and thread the needle. So bring yourself on through with that left arm. And you can lie there on the left side of your head. You can reach your right arm farther overhead if you choose to, or you can keep your elbow bent and soft. Just release and breathe. Let yourself enjoy. Bring your right hand back by your face. Press your way up, and we're going to go the other side. So threading the needle with that other arm. And again, this left arm can be overhead. You can keep the arm soft if you want. But just enjoy. Easy breaths. Good. One more breath from here. And then come on back, arms overhead in your child's pose again. And we're going to come back to all fours. And now from all fours, let yourself shift onto your left knee and start to stretch your right leg back and come on into that side plank variation where you reach your right arm up. Now you can lift your right foot off the floor too if you want to, right? That's up to you. You can even turn to look up towards your hand up there towards the ceiling if you choose. And then we're going to lower the foot and the hand back down. We're going to go to the other side. So as you send yourself with the right foot like that kickstand, and you shift onto your right arm there, your right hand supporting you, you can again lift the left foot up off the floor if you feel like you want to look up. You can look up towards the ceiling. Letting yourself engage there in the core body. And then we're going to release. We're going to come on back down, and let's step back into plank pose from here. Let yourself just easily, just a little bit of knee bend at a time to walk. just a tiny one. And then come on back into your downward facing dog pose. From here, we're going to bring our left foot forward and find our lunge. And then we'll step all the way back into our standing forward bend. So as you come into Uttanasana, release however you want, so that you're easy in your back. Feel those full deep breaths. Let yourself get as even as you can with your inhales and exhales. You know, don't force it, but sometimes just a little minor adjustment makes them come a little bit closer to the same length. When you breathe in is when you breathe out. And we will bring our hands right up to our hips from here. Bend our knees and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. We're going to move with our breath here now. So let yourself really follow the breath through these next two sun salutations. We're unfolding our arms now on down beside us. We'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your inhale help you find a long back. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. Let your exhale lower you. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising to the top with your breath. And on the exhale, let yourself come on forward. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Inhaling out to your plank. And letting your exhale lower you. And inhale into your cobra. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising to the top of your breath. And letting your exhale carry you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. You can place your hands and get back into your dog, however you choose. Once you get there, just be mindful. Really feel your hands on the floor. You might even look at them. Make sure they're pretty even there. You don't have one farther forward than the other. Think of your pointer fingers being about parallel. And as you reach back through your sit bones equally, you feel equally long through the sides of your body. Elbows hug in. And now see if when you inhale, you can rise your heels up a little higher in your dog. And when you exhale, let them descend back down. Hug your elbows towards each other. So inhaling, heels rise up. Exhaling, they come back down. And then one more time. Inhaling, heels up. And exhale, letting them release. Feel the backs of your legs here now. And we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're going to come up for warrior two. You might want your blocks handy by the front of your mat there. So lining up your heels here and getting yourself aligned with that front knee. Take your time, bend that knee, get it centered over your foot as best you can. Find that release down of the outer left hip, right? And then go ahead and float your arms up for a second. We're going to bring the right arm under the left and give a hug. You can stay hugging, elbows releasing down. Or you can head in towards your calf eagle or eagle wrap if you choose to. Whatever feels the best for your shoulders. Let yourself feel good here. Find that sense of the head floating up there on top of your spine. Think of your chin staying about parallel to the floor so you have length in the back of your neck and the back of your throat. And you feel that nice, just a sense of a big sigh between the shoulder blades on your back, right? From here, we'll unwind, and we're going to just let our arms extend out from the shoulders, hands slightly to the top of the shoulders, really. Let your shoulders melt down, feel the feet in the floor. Press the feet gently away from each other. And we are going to straighten the left leg out for triangle. Now let the right arm, as you start to lower your left hand down, just kind of go up high as it can. Once you get your hand to the surface you want to use, The hand should be just right up there above your shoulder. Now, if that hurts your shoulder, obviously put your hand down on your hip. Don't worry about it. But see if you can, maybe try to turn to look up towards the ceiling or your hand a little bit up there. And then let your gaze come forward and see about looking down towards your left foot there on the floor. Make sure you're not rolling on that foot. And then go where you're comfortable to look, right? You may want to stay down with your gaze. You may want to look out forward, or you may want to try to look up again. Good, so one more breath here. And then we're going to bend the left knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Hands again, just kind of to the tops of the shoulder height. Let your shoulders feel soft. Good. And then we're going to bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet at first more parallel, but actually we're going to head towards Goddess. So kind of adjust to where you can turn your toes out a little bit and bend your knees, but not very deeply, right? So you're bending your knees. Bring your arms out like Goddess arms, where you've got your elbows bent to 90 degrees. Feel the sense of the outer hips are dropping down towards the floor, which really lines your knees up towards the center of your feet more. And now when you inhale, straighten your legs and your arms like you're becoming the letter X. And then when you exhale, bend your knees and your elbows and come back into your Goddess. So when you inhale, come into that letter X. Let yourself lengthen up. And then as you exhale, bend your knees. Now once you get back into Goddess, see if you can lift your right heel up. And then let it come back down. And then see if you can lift your left heel up. And then let it come back down. If you're one to go for both, go for it. Some days those feel good to me, some days not. And then let yourself release on back down. We're going to straighten both legs up, release our arms down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And we're going to lower ourselves forward and down. Grab your blocks if you need to come into this wide-legged forward bend. So once you get your hands down to what you want to use, go ahead and adjust how you need to, bending a knee at a time if that feels good. Just where you feel like you can get fairly even between your feet, all the way up through your legs into your hips. And then, once you kind of get settled, let's walk over towards our right. You can come all the way and hold on to the outside of your right ankle or your foot, or you can be out in front of your foot on the floor or a block. But just stay here for 2 or 3 breaths. Give your body time to adjust. Feel what's happening in the legs, in the inside of that left thigh, the outside of the right leg there. And then we'll walk back through center. And we're going to go to the other side. So again, you can be in front of the foot. You can be on a block. You can be on the floor. You can hold on to the outside of your foot. You can draw your torso over towards that left leg if you choose. But you don't have to. You can still be in front. And again, just register in your mind here, feel what's going on in your legs, all the way up into your hips. Good. And then we'll come on back with our hands in the center. And now you can use your blocks, or you can walk on the floor if you want. We're going to walk out like we're going to do a plank. So we're going to head our way on out as far as you can go to where you feel like you're sitting, still having your feet out wide, but it's like a plank because you're getting really pretty lengthened down here so that you're parallel to the floor with your body. You can bend your elbows a little bit, do little push-ups if you want to. And then when you're ready, walk yourself on back, bend both your knees. Let your elbows come to rest above your knees for a second. Reach back into the tailbone so it reaches behind you into that squat. And then go ahead and go for where feels good for you. So, you may feel like now you want to put your hands on the floor between your feet, let your head hang, or you may know that you need to keep your back long. And if that's the case, do it. So really be mindful, and if you get one place and you're like, oh my, I need to do something different, then change. Enjoy accepting your breaths in and out. Just be aware of your feet in the floor. Imagine your inner thighs melting their way behind you, really. One more breath. And we are going to walk our hands on back out so we can walk back to our left foot to come on back into our lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, let yourself walk a little bit, ease your way into your dog. And then we'll bring our feet a little closer together, lift our left leg up in the air behind us, and then bend the knee and open the hip. We're not going to stay long, just look under your left arm for a second. Let your right heel descend towards the ground. And then go ahead and release, bring that foot back down to the floor. We're going to do the other side. So right leg comes up, knee bends. If you can, look underneath your right arm, do. Let the left heel descend towards the floor so you get a little more in the back of that leg. And then go ahead and release and put the foot back down onto the floor. And now you're on your own. If you want to come out and go through for some back bends, or maybe you don't. Maybe you want to come out to plank and back to dog. Maybe you want to put your knees down and rest in child's pose. So whether you move through kriyas or vinyasas or decide to do something else, really pay attention to how you're feeling. Good. And then let's meet back in downward facing dog pose. And once you're in your down dog, take a breath there. Get really evened out. And we'll bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. So again, you might want your blocks handy there. Line your heels up for your warrior and let yourself line up that front knee. Make sure you feel that sense of letting that outer right hip drop downward a little bit, lining the knee up at the center of the foot. And then float your arms up. This time left arm comes under right, so the right arm is on top. And again, you can hug and stay right there. Trying to find that release for your shoulders, whether you go into a half eagle or a full eagle wrap or stay hugging. And then once you get your arms kind of arranged where you're happy there, think about your chin. So try not to lift your chin up. Try to let your chin stay pretty parallel to the floor, even if your elbows rise up a little. And you feel that openness and length in the back of your neck and throat. And then we will unfold those arms out into warrior two arms. So letting yourself reach out through the fingertips, both the left fingertips and the right. Feeling the feet in the floor, feeling that power and strength of your warrior two. And as we straighten that right leg out, again, when the right hand comes down, if you can let the left arm keep going up too. And if that doesn't work for you, put the hand down on the hip. Let yourself feel that sense of the thighs lifting up towards the hips. Let yourself reach out through the top of your head. And now just turn to look at your foot for a second there on the floor. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside of it. You can even lift your toes up if that helps. And then slowly turn to look back to the long edge side of your mat. And if you feel like looking up, you can press that left hand a little forward maybe. Let yourself be easier about looking up. If it bothers your neck, don't do it. And then find the place where you like to stay, right? So maybe it's looking forward, maybe it's looking up or down, right? The eyes engage upward for one more breath. And now we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to press back up into warrior two, letting yourself rise on back up, finding that core strength here. And then we'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet again, but we are going to head back towards the little goddess. So turn the toes out a little bit. Bend the knees so they come out over the center of the feet. And then come into those goddess arms. Let yourself come right into goddess arms here. And now as you exhale, bring your hands, forearms, and elbows in front of you like they're going to meet, like you're closing a book. And then when you inhale, open back up again into your goddess arms. So as you exhale, bringing yourself together here with hands and forearms and elbows. And as you inhale, come on back. And then one more time, letting yourself come on in with the arms. And then open back up. And then from here, straighten your arms and legs into that X again. And now from here, turn one foot at a time to where your feet are parallel, okay? And then bring your arms down, clasp your hands behind you, and come on forward into your wide-legged forward bend. Now this is up to you, whether you stay and pretty up pretty high or parallel to the floor with your knees bent. Some of you might want to continue and fold upside down and let your arms come off your back. So sometimes it's easier when your legs are wide to come into this pose with the arms like that, which is kind of odd, rather than your feet together. But just be mindful. If it bothers your shoulders, put your hands down anytime you want. And when you're ready to release and let yourself come on down, do. And again, adjust and use support whatever way you need to be able to really release your upper body in this pose. So if that means for you that you like to use blocks under your head or your forearms, if you feel better to let yourself hang, do, or if you like to hold your ankles or walk your hands behind you, so that you feel a totally different feeling. Can really change a lot of things just by changing how you have yourself supported in the pose, how your upper body is really. And now go to the breath. Watch those full deep breaths all the way in and out. Feel that full expansion of your ribs when you inhale. Good. One more nice deep full breath. And we are going to walk ourselves out so we can walk back to the right foot and come back into lunge. And we'll make our way from here back into downward facing dog pose. Now from here, walk to the tops of the toes a couple of times. Press into the tops of your toes so you get that stretch in the tops of your feet. And then meet back in your dog, and on your next inhale, come on out to plank. If you can, go to a back bend do. Whether you go down to chaturanga or maybe you just want to come right to up dog. And coming on back into down dog. Now if you want to do a couple more of those, do. If you're done, you can be done. You can put your knees down. You can do anything that feels really good to you right now. So let yourself just be mindful. Flow through what feels good. And then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. And this time we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior one. So you do want your blocks handy on this one. So make sure you get your blocks around. And get that sense of, as you start to rise up, adjusting that back leg to the angle that feels good for you with your foot, right? So you feel open here in the front of your right hip. And let your hands just softly come to be in front of your heart. Just feel that connection. And then for a second, do what we did before. Separate except just the tips of your fingers and the tips of your thumbs are touching. So your elbows go out a little bit, but it still feels really easy. It's really enjoy. And then from here, let your fingers separate. And now all you have is the tips of your thumbs and your pointer fingers touching. It's like you made a little triangle right here. And the rest of the other hands are spread wide. And now from here, it's kind of fun if you put it right in front of your face and look through it, like you're looking through a little telescope. But now from here, when you inhale, let the hands keep going up in this same hand mudra. And when you exhale, let them come back down, all right? Now, if you want to follow your hands with your gaze, you can, but you don't have to. You can inhale, rise the hands up and watch the hands, or you can keep your gaze forward. So the inhales rise the hands up, and the exhales lower them down. And then the next time your hands get up, your arms are up overhead, let your gaze come back forward, and then go ahead and join your hands together. If you can clasp them and send your pointer finger up, do. Hug your elbows in towards each other. Come into your warrior one here, however you're comfortable to be. So if you need to separate your hands, separate your hands. Feel that lift through the front of the body. Let yourself enjoy finding that lift. One more breath. And then release your arms on down beside you. And we're going to clasp our hands behind us. And as we exhale, we're going to fold forward over this front leg. Letting yourself just release, if possible, your head as well. If not, don't do it. If you want to bring your arms up off your back, you can do that as well. And then release your hands down to the blocks or the floor. Find your lunge. Go back to your regular lunge. So we're going to add a twist. Bringing our left hand on up to our left hip. You can go ahead and stretch your arm up if you want, or you can keep your hand down. Let it feel pretty good. And then release your hand back down. Now from here, this is where we're going to go forward. So we're going to shift all the way onto those blocks in front of us. I'm going to go to the highest height because we're going to work on a little half moon now, opening that right leg and letting ourselves shift our weight more to our left hand, right? Now you don't have to come into full balance here. I mean, if you want, you can put your right hand on your hip. You can stretch your left arm up, come into your full balance of your half moon. Or you can keep your hand down and just let both hands stay down and just work on opening that hip. Remember, you want the heel pretty much directly back from your sitting bone. If the heel goes behind you, that means your belly is kind of like maybe not stopped working, but not doing exactly what it needs to do in order for you to come into that balance, right? So just play for a second here in your half moon. And then when you're ready, bring both hands down to the blocks. We're going to step back into lunge. So let yourself find your lunge again here. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Walk your dog a little bit, wag your tail a little bit, and then let yourself bend both your knees and press back equally out of your hands like your belly is coming onto your thighs. Hug your elbows towards each other. Good, and then from here we're going to step the right foot forward and we're coming up for warrior one on the other side. So again, as you start to head up in your warrior one, adjust that back foot to the angle that feels good. Remember, you're fully grounded in that foot. Trying to think about your arch lifting up, feeling open here in the front of your hip here. And then from here, just let your arms kind of hang for a second. Let yourself feel really heavy-armed almost without rounding into your shoulders, right? So feeling really open across your chest. And then go ahead and let your hands come to meet in front of your heart. And then again, let yourself come just to the tips of the fingers and the thumbs. So that's easy. You're just lightly connected. Feels very good. You feel that sense of just the opposite. So you're very strong and grounded in your feet, but your fingers are barely touching, and there's this very light feeling up here and in the upper body. So when you come back to separating except for the tips of the thumbs and the pointer fingers, and you bring that right in front of your face for a second, and then you start to inhale and rise the arms up, keeping the hands together here. When you exhale, you bring them back down. But you're letting yourself feel that ease of being very light in the top, very grounded in the bottom, right, of your body. So letting yourself just float the arms up. Doesn't matter how high. You don't have to straighten your arms or anything. You can just barely bring them up a little bit. Maybe just right, above your head a little bit and back down. So finish off when the arms come back up as high as you can get them there. And then go ahead and bring your hands together and do the clasp. Send the pointer finger up, hug your elbows in. Now whether you want to bring yourself up with your gaze or not is up to you. You can stay with your gaze forward. Elbows can hug in. If you need to leave your arms forward, let your arms stay forward. Take your time there. Good. One more breath. And then as you come forward with your gaze, bring your arms on down, clasp your hands behind you, and we're going to bow forward over this leg into humble warrior. Again, you don't have to go high. You can stay up pretty high and not even contact your leg. Or you can go ahead and kind of fold over the inside of the thigh, let your head hang, maybe even releasing your arms away from your back. That is totally up to you. And then we'll release, bring the hands on down. We're going to find lunge, so you might want your blocks under your hands. Adjust your lunge there, just to the right length for you. And then we're going to bring ourselves into twist. Right hand to the right hip, rolling that shoulder up, stretching the arm up if you can, letting yourself come into that twist in your lunge, twist in the middle of the back, trying not to sink into that left long side of the body. And then release your hand on back down. Now we're going to shoot ourselves forward from here. So let yourself come on up onto the blocks. I like the highest height. Remember, in order to open that hip of that right side, like you're stacking your right hip on your left, and to get your hand in a good place on your right side there, it's usually a little towards the pinky toe side of your foot, right? Because if you have your block right in front of your foot, it's really hard to balance. It's more like being on a tightrope. But if you have your hand towards the outside of your foot, it's a little bit easier. So take your time. Play a little bit with your balance there. And if you don't want to, keep your left hand down. You don't have to fully come up with the arm at all. You can keep your hand down and let yourself just enjoy. Opening up through the hip. Good. And when you're ready, come on back. And let's bring that back foot down. Back to lunge. Let yourself come back into your lunge. And then back into your downward facing dog pose. Yay for the dog. And do whatever your body insists on doing right now. I mean, if you want to put your knees down, put your knees down. If you want to come into some more vinyasas or kriyas, or maybe you want to open your hips, maybe you just want to rest in your child's pose or stay resting in your dog pose. Good. And we are going to finish off. Meet back in down dog very briefly. But from there, all we're going to do is come forward. Whether you jump or walk your way forward to get into your standing forward bend, that's totally up to you. Get your feet underneath you. Let yourself use support if you want to. Let your knees bend if you need. If you like to hold your elbows, go for it. But just come back to the breath. Really mindfully easing through your breath. And when you're ready, let your hands come on up to your hips, press into your feet and rise on up. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And as we exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. So if you need to adjust into mountain, you look at your feet and they're just not quite where you think they are. Let yourself adjust and then just enjoy. Whether your eyes are open or closed. Finding your mountain pose here. Feeling your feet equal in the floor. Finding that sense of lightness in the upper body. And if you sway around a little bit, it's fine. And we are going to let our arms unfold on down and move around, shake out, do whatever you need to do. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. So we'll bring in short edge of the mat into a wall. Maybe avoid the back floor over there where there's probably some water coming up, but we have plenty of room. Anybody who's watching, we've had a very heavy rain day. Yesterday and today. Today was torrential rain. Yesterday was a loud thunder day. Good, so let's come down and bring our feet back towards the wall behind us. And come on in to your toes touching the wall, releasing back towards your child's pose. Now if you need to stay up with your hips, stay up with your hips. If you're okay to shift your hips down towards your heels, do. Let yourself just be easy. You can rest your forehead on the mat. You can use your hands as a pillow if you want. Some of you might, even if you don't usually. I'm not usually a turn to the head to one side in child's pose person, right? But sometimes it feels really good to let my head turn and lie on the side of my head and then switch when I'm ready and do the other side. Sometimes I forget about it because I don't normally do it, and I realize it does release my neck in a nice way. Don't do it, obviously, it doesn't feel good to you. Good, and then come back to center. If you had your head turned, go ahead and stretch your arms out long overhead. And we're gonna come on up to all fours, curl our toes under, and when we reach back, you want to be at that spot where if you were to look at your hands, you really have almost erased your wrist creases. That might mean you want your hands to be farther away from the wall a little bit, so that when you hug your elbows towards each other and you reach back as far as you can through your sitting bones, it's just, you're out of your hands, right? And you're more than welcome to lift a leg up the wall. If you want to go ahead and put one foot up the wall, you can. But enjoy feeling what's happening to the leg you're on before you do both legs, right? So the one you're on gets a really good hamstring stretch. So if you're doing one leg, try doing the other one after so that you get evened out there. And then, of course, if you want to come in towards both feet walking up the wall, if you want to be closer to the wall and get more towards walking up to where your shoulders get right over your wrists for a handstand, you can practice a little bit there. Or if you want, you can come down to your forearms, right? So find where you feel like you can go and you're not putting stress, in your shoulders or in your hands, your wrists. So play how you want. Don't overdo because you're welcome to come down and stop and rest whenever you want. You can rest in child's pose, or you can sit up with your head above your heart if that feels better. Just be mindful. So if you want to go up more than once, you can rest a little bit, and maybe you want to shift from being on your hands to being on your forearms, or the opposite, right? So, take your time. Good. And then when you're ready, let yourself come on down to rest. And we are going to head towards a pigeon pose now. So, if you know full pigeon, not so good for your hips, don't do it. Or if you know that grabbing a blanket. So if you bring your left knee forward towards the left front corner of the mat, and you feel like sliding a blanket underneath your left hip there, sometimes that really gets it a little more doable. Or don't do these at all. You can lay on your back and do a figure four, right? So you can have that right leg directly behind you, and you can, if you like, grab blocks and get up higher so that you press into the blocks, and almost like you're a pigeon, like taking flight, right? I mean, your hips actually rise up higher. You're not sitting on that hip anymore. You're actually all the way up, which gets a really deep stretch in the front of that right hip. And then you can release your way down and come forward when you're ready. And you can use a block for underneath your forearms. You can make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your head if you want on your hands. And feel the feet and the floor. And feel the top of the right foot into the ground and a little bit of whatever part of that left foot pushing down into the floor. Breath. You could bring your breath into your low back. And then when you're ready to come to your forearms and bend your right knee, right? So you're up, you're supporting yourself on your forearms, you're bending the knee. That might be enough. If you feel like, well, I want to come up onto my hands because I can do that and it feels really good, you can be right here. And that's a big stretch here at the front of the hip and the quad. Or you can reach your right hand back. Now you can hold either the inside of the foot if that feels better in your shoulder, or you can hold the outside of the foot. You can press the foot into your hand, right? And you can decide if you want to bring the left arm forward. So if you have the blanket there, it's usually a lot easier to bring that hand forward. Just be mindful, let it feel good. And then we're going to release. We're going to come back down. We're going to switch our legs out. So, how you do that is up to you. You may decide you want to go into down dog. You may just want to shift around to back to child's pose, or just get your blanket over to the other side if you're using a blanket. So that right knee angles towards the right front corner of your mat. That right foot comes in towards your hip pointer, left hip pointer bone. And your left leg is directly behind you, right? And then again, you can let yourself, if you want to go higher, bring your blocks under your hands, kind of like lift up a little bit with your hips. Really feel deep into the front of that left hip. Yeah, and then when you come forward and decide if you want to use blocks or whatever, you can bring yourself down onto forearms, or make that pillow with your hands, or you can stretch your arms overhead if you'd like to. Just breathe into your low back. See if you can really literally feel like you're increasing your pelvis size with your breath. You literally are breathing into your pelvis, and you feel your low back expand, and your belly. Now slide up onto your forearms if you want. Bend that left knee if you want, right? Stay there. You don't have to get any higher, because that definitely increases a lot with the hip stretch as well as the coming into the quad. So you can come up on your hands. If you like to reach back, get hold of the foot, press the foot into your hand, you can. And again, if you want to release that right arm forward, if it feels good. Otherwise, don't do it. Keep your hand down. Let yourself feel that openness across the left side of your chest if you have your hand back like that. Nice. And then we're going to release. And we're going to come down to slide, to just let our legs swing on around in front of us. Get your blanket on out of your way. And then we're going to come on down onto our backs. You might want to have your blocks handy in case you want to use them. But come on down onto your back on the floor. Bring your knees on in towards your chest. Let the knees circle in one direction, whether you choose counterclockwise or clockwise first. And then just stop and let them go the other way. You can have your hands on your knees to do that, or wherever you want, really. Good. And then come back, stretch your legs on up in the air, and open them into a wide angle. Now, you may want to bend your knees. You may want to put your hands on the outside of your legs and kind of support your legs. Or you might just feel great to let your legs hang in space. That's really different for all of us. So, you don't want to put too much into the inner legs here. So if you need support, making those little stands with your hands can be just enough to let you be able to find release without discomfort, right? Good. One more breath here. Now, if you want to be able, if you are able and want to, you can reach down and try to get your big toes and kind of pull your legs in towards you a little bit. But if you do that, try to send your tailbone down. So you're letting yourself really get deeper into a stretch, and you're not letting your low back just collapse into the floor. You're sending your tailbone down towards the ground. And it deepens the stretch in the legs. And then we'll bring the legs on back up in the air. Bend your knees now. Let your feet come onto the floor. And get yourself set for a little bridge pose. Whether you want to just float on up right now into bridge. Maybe you prefer to grab a block and come up onto a block. You can even use your blocks for your feet if you like that bridge pose where you put blocks under your feet. Or you can use block underneath your sacrum. Or if you're so inclined, you can put your hands on the floor above your shoulders and press up into a full upward facing bow pose. Right? Totally up to you. Be mindful, let it feel really good to open here into your bridge pose, whether it's supported or coming into releasing onto the block, letting your back release. Sometimes it's fun to put your hands under your low back too. Take your time. If you aren't down already and you are about to make your way down, be really mindful. Let yourself release however you need. Bringing knees in towards your chest, or one knee at a time in towards your chest. Really, everyone is different in finding that release. Thank you. From your bridge pose. So start to come around, and I would really like to bring anything you need for support. A bolster or under the knees, if that sounds good, a blanket, or anything for cover or for your head. So just wave at me if you get there and you're like, oh, I can't seem to get comfortable. Let me bring you something that might help. As you accept your breaths now, coming in and going out. Just being with your breath, and even when your mind wanders off away from your breath, it's easy to come back. Just softly refocus back to your breath. And feel how your body responds to the quieting of your breath. Now your brain also becomes a little less active, a little quiet place creeps in here and there. Give yourself the gift of these few minutes. And allow yourself to completely and fully relax. free, of course, to roll to your side. If you want to be on your side for a little bit, you can stay in a soft fetal position and enjoy the ground a little longer. Feeling that sense of being cradled by the floor. Floating your way up, so it feels like very easy to start to get upright again. Especially making sure you get comfortable how you're sitting so that your hips feel good. And use a blanket if you need to sit on. Stretch your legs out if you'd rather. Let yourself start to feel your head floating up there on top again. Bring your head up above your heart. Feeling energy starting to come back all through your body. And bringing your awareness back to your breath. And on your next exhale, just letting your hands come to meet right there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy rainy. I heard it raining again for the but I'm here now, so maybe you'll get a window of opportunity.